My name is Gary Fingerhan, and I lead our pre-built agentic industry solutions team here at Kore.ai. I'm thankful to be joined by our team of industry experts that bring deep knowledge and hands-on experience across the industries we serve, including Tim Lowenstein, leading retail manufacturing and travel, Peter Burby, who leads our banking, insurance, and wealth management, Chip Steiner, who's focused on healthcare providers, and Sri Vengala, who drives our healthcare payers. Kore.ai offers industry-ready accelerator agents that help organizations go live faster with domain-specific use cases and built-in integrations. Today, we will explore how these accelerators are driving results for our customers across healthcare, retail, and financial services. So let's jump in. Chip, something that's always top of mind in healthcare, reducing administrative burdens and improving experiences for providers and payers. In healthcare, both providers and payers face enormous administrative burdens, from managing prior authorizations to handling patient or member inquiries. How have Kore's accelerators helped your customers reduce manual effort while still ensuring compliance and accuracy?
Thanks for the question, Gary. Speed to value is important for all of our customers. What you'll find is that Kore's solutions really facilitate that speed to value in a way that is differentiated in the marketplace. Healthcare providers are looking to provide improved patient access and to do it in a conversational, impactful way for their patients. Insurance companies, medical insurance companies, have the same challenge, trying to provide access to those members and ensure that that their customers have the most flexible, convenient experience possible. Overall, this speed to value paradigm that Kore facilitates provides healthcare customers the most effective solution using agentic AI tools.
Thank you, Chip. So Sri, to follow up, do you see a faster ROI for customers from patient or member self-service or from staff agent assistance?
Yeah, so you're absolutely right about payers going through a lot of turmoil right now because the entire environment is very volatile. The whole risk adjustment piece for the payers, the CMS has changed the way they're calculating the risk corridors. And in essence, the payers are starting to lose their profitability because they're spending a lot more on their patients. The payer's focus essentially has been, how do I improve my margins? How do I make sure I'm meeting my members' demands while keeping the costs low? What Kore.ai has been able to do with the member experience is by allowing the self-service, it's starting to see that ROI much more quickly. So in other words, one of the key factors for boosting quality scores and closing gaps in care is the member has to be in contact with the payer has to be in contact with member. And rather than using the traditional phone calls and waiting on the line and getting more frustrated, the member experience and the consumer experience scores are getting better by automating some of these member interactions. So the ROI at the end of the day is both objective and subjective. The objective side of it is the ability for them to see the number of calls reducing into the contact center, and by the members allowed to use their self-service to get to the answers that they need 24/7. It's quickly giving them the ability for allowing the members to get better experience, again, expanding their contracts and membership retention, as well as lowering their costs from a contact center agent, getting the responses that they need. So in both ways, we're seeing that AI from Kore.ai and the protocols and the products that we put in there for solving members' issues has really impacted, and they're starting to see the ROI. We have several examples of our customers, starting with a 2% containment rate all the way up to 35 to 45% containment rate. And that really translates to dollars if you can see the number of calls that are going into contact center now are being self-served. The cost of a call versus the cost of a direct digital interaction, there's a lot of difference there. And they're starting to save that money and seeing the ROI in less than a year in most cases.
Thank you, Sri. So Peter, Also an important topic, integration and compliance as accelerators in our payers and financial services space. Both payers and banks operate highly regulated environments where
Great
integration into
question.
existing systems is critical. How important has that been for your customers that industry-ready AI agents come pre-integrated with core platforms like claims management or fraud monitoring? And how does that change their adoption timeline?
Sure. It's very hard to service any bank customers if you don't have access to the backend systems where all their accounts are held, their transaction details are held, and all the critical information. So by doing these integrations ahead of time and creating a set of APIs that any of these banks coming on board can now use, it greatly speeds up the process. And so it would take us somewhere from anywhere, I don't know, 6 to 8 months to do a core banking integration from scratch to now we can have one of these AI agents up and running for a bank in about 2 months.
That's amazing speed. And I imagine you repurpose those over and over again in your industry.
Yeah, so that's the real benefit here because a lot of these backend systems are standard, especially the core banking. Now, there may be different nuances that one bank has slightly picked different fields than a different one. But through the validation process up front, we're able to go through, find out those differences, quickly make the changes within the system so that we're pulling the right data for that customer.
And also, Shri, to follow up on that, in the payer space, can you share an example of how customers balance speed to market with compliance risk, for example?
Great question. Compliance risk, given healthcare regulations, the key aspects that every customer of ours is asking Core is, are you HIPAA compliant? Do you have SOC 2 compliance? Are you PCI DSS certified? So across the board, compliance happens to be number one priority along with governance and risk. So we're seeing our customers making sure that vetting Kore.ai solutions as part of their selection process to ensure that our product is compliant with the HIPAA regulation. Again, really understanding what are those personal health information that has to be protected, as well as the personally identifiable information that has to be protected as we are dealing with that covered entity and the business associate agreement. So compliance, our products, our solution that we built in when we interact with the member interacts with the payer and the member interacts with the provider, we're ensuring that all of our content and the data is in accordance with the compliance. And we are continuously following and keeping an eye on the regulations and making sure our solutions are covered with respect to ensuring that we're compliant with whatever is required in order to communicate between the two entities.
Thank you, Shri. So, Tim, moving over to retail, you focus on modernizing the customer engagement across retail. And as mentioned, Peter for financial services. But Tim, first, retailers and banks are both seeing a rise in customer expectations for seamless personalized service. Which use cases, order tracking, loyalty, account servicing, or loan applications are showing the fastest adoption or accelerators among your customers? And why do you think that is?
Well, there's really two. When we focus on retail, it's really around order tracking. This is probably one of the most fastest growing use cases across. And the reason is it's the most frequent post-purchase question, and it's a very low complexity, but yet high volume use case. And so it allows customers, we can use pre-built connectors to logistics, different systems, and agentic workflows that really auto-resolve where's my order from a any query perspective. And it really lets them maximize their usage of efficiency for contact centers from 20 to 40%. Now, on the banking side, it's really around account servicing, right? And this is something that it's high frequency, it's low risk transactions, whether it's balances, lost cards, disputes, and those type of things. And really, it's what's accelerating this is secure conversational agents that can fully resolve the issues and escalate appropriately.
So, Peter, to follow up on that, what kind of metrics do your customers care? What do they care about? Is it conversion rate? Is it cost savings, satisfaction scores, reduction in risk?
So, in banking, when they're looking at the different success metrics, it really kind of boils down to how accurate is the assistant at understanding what the customer is looking for? How often is the customer able to execute and complete the tasks or the automation that they're doing? And really, how often are we able to keep these customers away from going to a live agent? So that kind of forms the basis in terms of how the overall product is doing for them. And then behind that, obviously, the cost savings come up when the calls aren't going to the live agents. They can now reduce the number of agents that they have in the call centers. When the customers are actually able to interact with the assistant, get their answer on that first call in, that your overall satisfaction scores go up. And so those are really the main things that the banks and financial institutions are interested in measuring.
Thanks, Peter. Let's focus a little bit on scaling. At Core, we focus on large enterprises in healthcare, some of the largest healthcare organizations in the world. So, Chip, along those lines, scaling from an AI pilot project to an enterprise-wide program can be challenging. How have our industry-ready accelerators helped healthcare customers overcome barriers to scaling, whether that's fragmented systems, staff adoption, or data quality?
You named the three hot items there, Gary. The ability to scale from a single clinic with maybe a handful of docs to an entire hospital or an entire health system is typically on the minds of our larger customers, but they want to start small. And once they address back-end connectivity, they want to be able to rapidly expand and bring on all of the components of their organization. Core has one of the most robust back-end integration engines of anyone in the industry. And coupled with the ability to rapidly scale through SIP and other telephony methods, we can expand a customer's footprint at a rate much faster than they could ever scale using human talent in call centers. One example, we had a client that went from 20 staffed call center agents to with only 20 concurrent lines to a design where they had over 200 concurrent calls coming in, which is a 10x growth over their existing capacity. And what that did is it delivered improved metrics for patient access, and it allowed for their providers that were otherwise not having filled appointment slots suddenly increase their capacity and actually their value. The right patients were seeing the right doc when they wanted to, and that drove overall ROI for the customer, and fundamentally helped Core deliver a superior solution.
So if I continue down that path, if you're using Core's pre-built integrations with the major electronic health records, scaling really is a matter of access to additional templates or locations. It's not really a technical challenge. Is that a fair statement?
Very much so. The technical challenge on Core is not there. The capacity and supply of healthcare providers becomes then the gating item. We take away all of the IT risks and limitations to scaling to the desired size.
So Tim, jumping back to retail, based on your experience with customers, Do you believe that key to scaling lies more in the technology, the culture, or is it a combination of both?
Well, it's really a combination of both. And one of the top ones that we see is fragmented systems. A lot of these different retailers have, their low margin business, and they've got all different levels of systems, whether they're the most current or whether they're legacy type systems. So, the ability to have pre-built accelerators in our world for order tracking or returns or loyalty and those kind of things, and being integrate to those different platforms and being able to pull all of that together really allows us to remove that integration bottleneck that really stalls scale. And also from a staff perspective, right? Having staff adopt these new technologies. So having different conversational assistants and those kind of stuff embedded into associate workflows, whether it being point of sale or mobile apps and those type of things, basically in ensuring employees see AI as an enabler rather than a barrier. And then I think the last final point would be around data quality. And this is, AI can accelerate normalizing the catalog, the product data, the metadata, all the supporting information around that product, and also looking at transaction and customer data from a semantic layer and looking at powering a consistent personalization across the platform.
So, across industries, collaboration is really becoming essential, whether it's between payers and providers in healthcare or between retailers and payment partners in commerce. So, how are the AI accelerators from Core enabling our customers to collaborate more effectively within their own ecosystems? So, I'll start with Chip and Tim. If you had to give one piece of advice for customers to accelerate AI success in your industries, what would it be?
Well, I'd have to say, rather than deploying AI in silos, I would focus on different flows and use cases that cut across whether it's partners, customers, or different business units, like order tracking across different retailer, right? And logistic partners. These use cases create quick wins. They build trust in AI, and it can establish a foundation for scaling into other parts of the business and providing good ROI and feedback to the company.
Yeah, I would extend that customers should look at their existing process and identify the routine, mundane activities that their qualified staff are currently being tasked with, and shift those over to automation. That will allow the organization to experience the efficiency that can be gained there and begin to layer on more complex applications. So focus on the items that don't have a lot of particular benefit to human interaction, but do provide a lot of value to their end customers, whether it be patients or members of an insurance organization.
So, in effect, I'm hearing allowing them to focus on the top of their license, if you will, for a provider.
That's a term of art we use a lot. Everyone should be working at the top of their license, whether that's a cardiac surgeon all the way down to a medical assistant. And AI facilitates the ability to have each one of them focus on where they're trained, where they're licensed, and where they're best skilled.
And Peter, I'll ask you if you had one piece of advice for your customers to accelerate AI success in banking, financial services, what would it be?
I think the one thing that advice I would give to banks and financial institutions is don't let AI scare you. Banks and financial institutions have been using different forms of modeling since the 70s. AI is more sophisticated modeling. And I think that when some of the risk areas start to get concerned that the AI is going to be taking over, or that the AI is going to be, let me think, how do I want to say this? So when some of the risk organizations are concerned that the AI is going to go off the rails and bring huge new areas of risk to the bank, it's really important that the AI is going to do what you need it to do and can be totally controlled. So really my advice is just, don't be scared by AI. AI really will drive huge advantages for your business.
So don't be scared, but learn how to leverage a platform's guardrail capabilities to make sure that they remain in compliance. And that's something that you've done over and over again.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Sri, finally, in the healthcare insurance payer space.
Yeah. So it's essential that all of these payers need to improve operational efficiencies. And the way they do that is whether in the member experience or provider experience, they need to focus on four things: people, process, technology, and data. Is the data ready for their AI initiative? Number one. Are the people educated and trained on how to use the AI? Are there processes in place that can be used by AI engines for automation? And then the technology, are we putting the right technology where it's needed? Do I need a real high power LLM or do I need a domain specific LLM? These are the considerations that payers have to make on those four areas. And most importantly, the change management is a big piece. As you have your employees turn from regular deterministic to more probabilistic solutions, the members and the employees need to really understand the change and how it impacts it, how they communicate that. So it's important for the organization to ensure that there's change management protocols in place across the organization that are getting impacted positively with the AI implementation. So again, people, process, technology, data, change management are the critical aspects in order for them to be successful and continue to have their employees aligned with the objectives of the organization, which is, again, member experience, provider experience, operational efficiencies, and better profit margins.
Oh, excellent advice. Thanks, everyone. And thanks for sharing these real world customer stories and insights. It's clear to me, whether it's in healthcare or retail or financial services, Kore.ai's domain specific AI agents and accelerators and built in integrations are helping customers realize value faster and scale with confidence. Thanks for joining. Take care.